Good afternoon, or good evening, shall I say. My name is Corey Walker. I'm the analyst of college football. I am also the Dark Prince of college football, so follow me here. Like, subscribe, share, and let's get some talk going on. So the first thing that we're going to talk about this is a preview for the Maryland versus Michigan game, but we're going to start with talking about what Michigan did against Notre Dame. So what Michigan did against Notre Dame had been building for 2 weeks, because we're starting with the second half of the Penn State game going into the Notre Dame game. It was the first time that Michigan actually had a carryover for a game in the way that they ran their offense and they continued to press on. In regards to that, they did something that was just unsurmountable in the Notre Dame game. In the Notre Dame game, if you know Jim Harbaugh, if you follow Michigan, if you see the things that have always gone on, when Michigan is up big, what's the biggest thing they do? They run the ball. Jim Harbaugh wants to control the ball. So what does he do? He continues to run the ball, keep the ball in his possession, which if they end up getting a 3-and-out or they end up, getting to the 50 and having to punt the ball, they'll punt the ball and give the other team a chance to score. Michigan didn't do that this time. Michigan this time, whenever they got up big, they still threw the ball. And I think this is because we have Josh Gattis now. Now, Josh Gattis has been getting a lot of flack. A lot of people haven't liked him. They're saying that he should be fired, all this and that. But Josh Gattis was brought in here to do a job. In regards to Josh Gattis and what we've seen, Josh Gattis has constantly done what he should be doing. And with that being said, he is supposed to run the offense. Now, it takes some time to get that offense to where it should be, especially when you switch from a pro-style offense to more of a spread-type offense. Urban Meyer, if you like Urban Meyer has said that the whole time. When you switch to these types of offenses, it takes some time for the team to get used to it if they're not. A lot of people believe that, it should just happen because you have the recruits, you have that ability, but it's not that easy. So Josh Gattis kept pushing. One thing that I thought that Jim Harbaugh should have did early on that he didn't do was the concepts that he had in the beginning he should have kept now. Because if he kept those concepts throughout and then we just build on those concepts that Michigan knows, it makes the game a lot easier. It doesn't matter if you're running in a pro-style offense, which is directly under the center, or if you're running a spread-type offense, which is being in a shotgun. But we saw those concepts run in a spread-type offense, and Michigan pummeled Notre Dame. I mean, we got bragging rights for the next, 14 years. So in 2033, Notre Dame, come holler at us. We'll gladly go ahead and talk about this last win that we had. In regards to that, Michigan, they threw the ball. The limited times that they threw the ball, they basically threw it for 8 for 14. Dylan McCaffrey was 2 for 2, I want to say. And they just kept on schedule. They ran the ball for 300 yards. Georgia is dominant when it comes to running the ball. They have all kinds of prolific running backs. They have gone through the school, and we can date all that back all the way to Herschel Walker. But for Michigan to put up 167 yards in the first half, and then another 130, I think it was 136 yards in the second half, for us to get 300 yards rushing, now that is impressive. And that is what we want to see. That's what college football is all about. So in regards to that, Michigan did exactly what they needed to do. They needed to come out, they needed to hit the guys in the mouth, and then while they were down, they needed to keep stomping on them and beating them until they said, I give up. And then when they said, I give up, they needed to kick them again, which is exactly what they did, because there is no reason when there's 4 minutes and 30 seconds left in the fourth quarter that Dylan McCaffrey should have been behind center and throwing the ball. But what did he do? He threw the ball. Mike Sandstrom caught it. Didn't break one, but broke 2 tackles. and then raced off to the end zone. Cornelius Johnson, he threw a block to make sure he got into the end zone. And the guy who we wanted to see all season long made a big play. Now, that doesn't take away from DPJ. That doesn't take away from Nico Collins. That doesn't take away from Ronnie Bell or Tariq Black, because all of them are very special. But now we have a little bit of depth, and that individual is showing that he's special. Even more so, if you look at Don Brown and what he did with the defense. We're running man, we're running man zone, we're running zone, we're running zone man, we're running zone blitz, we're running cover 4. We're doing so many different things that the defense doesn't know exactly what to do. They do not know how to actually defend us. So with that being said, if Michigan keeps up what they're doing, there's no way that we do not give OSU a fight at the end of the season. Michigan, their main job is to keep pushing forward, building on what they have done, and make sure that in the end, they leave no doubt. But we're not here to talk about the OSU game. We got a couple of weeks for that. Let's talk about Maryland. So, entering this game right now, we have Maryland versus Michigan. The reason why this is so interesting is because we have Locksley versus Gattis, the mentor, as you can call it, versus the protege, if you want. So I'm an alumni of the University of New Mexico. I was at the University of New Mexico when Locksley was hired. I was there when Locksley said that there was no talent in New Mexico at all, and all he did was try to recruit from the East Coast. And that ended up blowing up in his face, and he ended up getting fired a couple of years later. So, looking at what Locksley has done to rebuild himself over the years, he's actually been pretty good. You know, he's held a couple coordinator positions. He did go to Alabama, which is where he just happened to meet Gattis at the time. And, you know, they were a good 1-2 punch. If you listen to Nick Saban, he says they were basically cashed out when it came to the championship game, which is why they didn't win the championship game. But we'll see what happens. So when it came to media days, there was a little bit of going back and forth. Locksley, it was rumored that Locksley wanted to hire Gattis as his offensive coordinator. Gattis, obviously, ended up going to Michigan. And because of that, maybe Locksley feels a little sniped or whatever. Don't know what happened behind closed doors. What we do know is that Gattis has instituted a passing offense, or a new style offense, shall we say, at Michigan, that 7 or 8 games into the season is actually finally starting to work. We're having running backs. We got 2 running backs who nearly have 500 yards rushing, which that wasn't there last year. We have a couple wide receivers that are doing well, but we're really not getting the passing game. So we'll see what ends up happening, because we want to know what's going to happen. Locksley, he said, hey, I called all the plays. Gattis sat there and he listened and he gave a little bit of information, but I called the plays. I'm the reason why, you know, Tua was scoring touchdowns and Calvin Ridley was running down the field wide open and everything. You know, if you listen to Gattis, it is because of him that Locksley is in the position that he's in. So during this game, we're going to have pupil versus mentor. And we're going to have Gattis go up against him, and he's going to be calling the plays. And Locksley, who's the head coach of Maryland, is going to be calling the plays over there. And yeah, he says he has an offensive coordinator. But if you look at this on paper, if you look at what Maryland is bringing to the phone. So Maryland averages a total of 403 yards. They average 212 passing yards and 191 rushing yards. Just from a defensive standpoint, it sounds like, we at Michigan, we might have a little bit of something to worry about. Because Michigan is only averaging 397 yards total, 224 passing, 172 rushing. But if you just look at the last 2 games, we've gained 400 yards total. 400, roughly, I think about 420 yards total, passing and rushing. And if you're looking at what the yards are allowed, and we're now a top 10 defense, just so you know, just in case you weren't paying attention, we're only averaging 159 yards passing and 110 yards rushing. So with that being said, there's a good chance that, something has to break, because Maryland's averaging 273 yards passing, and they're averaging 150 yards rushing. Michigan's going to get 150 yards rushing. You best believe. Either Charbonnet or Haskins is going to have 100 yards rushing. And then the other one's going to have possibly another 100 yards rushing. Because those boys don't know how to quit. I am interested in that passing game, though, because I believe that this is a game that we can actually open up our big passing. And you know what? If you want to double cover Nico, go ahead. Because if Ronnie Bell or Tariq Black is playing, we're going to throw the ball underneath to them. If DPJ is running down the sideline by himself, Shea should hit him wide open. And we haven't even talked about the tight ends. Eubanks, McKeon, Eric All, Shoemaker. There is no telling what could possibly happen in this game. But what I do know is that Michigan should come out on top. And they shouldn't just come out on top. They should come out on top big. I think the last time I saw, the spread was 17 points. I'm looking for Michigan to kill that spread. I'm looking for them to win by like 30 points in this game. Now, Maryland came out hot. They scored, I think, 70 points against Howard. I think they went against Howard. They scored like 70 points. They were 2-0. Everyone thought that they were something big, and that what Locksley is doing is great. He just got there. He has these players. He got some key players to stay for his late recruiting. But this is the thing, and this is what Harbaugh also had to learn. It takes a little bit of time to build your team. You just can't get players and plug them in and expect for them to react and be the way that they're supposed to be. You have to continue to build and do what you need to do to develop these young players to play how you want them to play. And 9 out of 10, that's not going to happen in the first year. But in year 2, year 3, definitely year 4, those players in that legion that you built that has followed you, they're the ones who are going to make a big impact. So when you look at this game, we ain't looking to the OSU game. We're looking at this game right now. There is no reason why Michigan should not come out on top. And when they come out on top, they should literally have the 5th team in by the 4th quarter. There's no reason why Maryland should be hanging around. And I will be surprised if Locksley gives Gattis a handshake at the end. He'll give Harbaugh a handshake because, they're coaches and stuff. Gattis, he'll pretty much probably flick off and just walk away. But Gattis is going to bring his best game to this game. And that's just to show him that, hey, he did learn from him, but he's better than him. And Michigan has better athletes. So, I see, let's see, what score we're going to go with today. Let's go with 35-10. No. Let's go 52-10. Michigan. And those 10 points will come roughly in the 3rd quarter. Shea Patterson will have his first 300-yard game. And we may have 2 100-yard rushers as well as 1 100-yard receiver. So, as I said, like, share, subscribe. My name's Corey Walker. I'll be bringing you content throughout the rest of the season and on. Go Blue!